I'm Dr. Truce, back again for segment number 11. We finished segment 10 talking about the role of natural selection in producing the unusual phenomenon of very high IQ in Ashkenazi Jews from Europe. That phenomenon was based on the probable factor of natural selection operating over several thousand years and influencing one portion of the body, and that is the metabolic pathways underlying the role of fatty compounds in the development of brain tissue, and eventually resulting in somehow or other in definitely a much higher IQ, as I told you before, a mean of 115 and compared to 100 for American or European whites. So natural selection produced a very restricted phenomenon. That is, by producing the high IQ in certain brain metabolic pathways, the result was several deviations from the normal expression of the genes, and that is the set of diseases that we talked about before, including Tay-Sachs and Niemann-Pick and Gaucher's. So we think that natural selection is not only very effective in producing quite considerable human differences, such as the IQ difference that I was talking about, but in addition to that, a whole variety of human differences, some of which are the result of the last 10,000 year explosion that Harpending and Cochrane talked about in their book. But also, I'm going to mention to you a few other kinds of differences on this chart, which include skin color. Skin color obviously relates to geography in a very explicit way, because as you proceed from the equator, the tropical regions of the world, northward, for instance, you see the skin color gets less and less dark because genes for the production of melanin become less able. They become disabled, basically, and if they were disabled entirely, you end up with an albino. And there are several sorts of albinos. The inheritance of skin color is complex enough so that I'm going to avoid that right now, only to say that the distribution of skin color is based essentially on the geographic location of peoples over a long period of time in relation to the amount of sunlight they're getting, especially UV light. And therefore you get a considerable amount of variation around the globe. Taster genes are very interesting. There's a substance called PTC, which is the material that is used in genetic experiments in high schools around the country. And it's a simple type of test. You place it on your tongue and you can either taste a very bitter taste or you get no taste at all. So you're either a taster or a non-taster. And the taster is dominant, and in most cases the person will be able to taste the substance. The distribution of these genes, however, is very irregular around the globe. The dominant taster, non-taster alleles are distributed all around the globe except in sub-Saharan Africa. In sub-Saharan Africa, there's almost no dominant taster and non-taster, but there are several variants, at least 3 of them, which are found in sub-Saharan Africa but nowhere else on Earth. And that tells you that peoples, after roughly 50,000 years ago, when the exodus from Africa took place of small groups of people migrating around the world, they did not go back to sub-Saharan Africa and intermingle with the local peoples for many, many thousands of years until the colonial explorers went out on their ships and invaded Africa basically in the 15th century. So we had a long time period of isolation geographically in which the migrating populations out of Africa became distinctly different from the sub-Saharan African populations. Malaria resistance found in tropical Africa and other tropical places. There are quite a number of types of malaria resistance. The sickle cell anemia type is the one that African Americans have that whites do not have for obvious reasons. Whites evolved in a completely different setting in Northern Europe primarily, and they therefore would have no use for malaria resistance genes, whereas people living in the tropical areas would have it would be life-saving to evolve genes that could allow you to resist malaria. Eye color is generally, you can say that the dark hair and brown eyes are universal. They are found all over the globe, and the exception to them would be the Northern European evolution of blue eyes and green eyes, red hair, and so on, which were concomitant to the lighter skin that was evolving. So there was a reduction in pigmentation all the way around. Blonde hair, which is found in Norway and Sweden and Denmark, is extremely rare below a certain geographic latitude, and certainly in the tropics non-existent. So the fact that there is one fairly dark tribe of people, the Berbers in North Africa, with blue eyes, was an anomaly, and the scientists were very puzzled by that simple fact. How did they ever get blue eyes? And a study of history would lead us to believe that the enormous number of battles on the Mediterranean that took place during Roman times could have involved pirates and other kinds of invaders, barbaric tribes from Germany, for instance, including the Vandals, who might have mixed with the local population and produced the eye color changes that we see today. So that's an anomaly easily explained. But anyway, the distribution is quite substantially great. Lactose tolerance is, of course, about 8,000 years ago approximately, in Europe, throughout Europe, lactose tolerance evolved as dairying became more popular because it was beneficial to various populations who were involved with dairying to be able to use milk beyond childhood, because it's highly nutritious. It's good in terms of protein and calories, and it actually would enhance your physical fitness, and empower you in terms of any kind of military activities, fighting that went on between various tribes. It would be extremely beneficial compared to those that do not have it. Dry earwax is a interesting gene found in Asia and not found at all in Africa. So here you have sub-Saharan Africa, to give you an idea of the amount of genetic isolation. Dry earwax is extremely common in Asia and non-existent in sub-Saharan Africa. Athletic ability is, if you look at American sports, you have no doubt about who has the greatest athletic ability, blacks compared to whites and Asians. Asians actually come out last overall. They may come out higher in IQ-wise, but in athletic ability they are last. And salt conservation, obviously in the tropics, the Africans of today have the most primitive allele for salt conservation, because it's extremely important to conserve body salt in the great heat. So I will stop right here and continue this at another time. Thank you very much.